Hey there, this is Spanky, the driving dude with all things driving. Thanks for tuning in today. We have so much to go over. I'm pretty stoked to share this info with you. Let's get right to it. There's a great website called idrivesafely.com, and they put out a parent-teen driving agreement, and you parents are really going to want to check this out. idrivesafely.com, it's a couple guys who put it together. It all started out of them both getting a speeding ticket, and then I guess it just went on from there. So let's get right to it. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read this entire 8-page parent-teen driving contract. We used the same one for our lovely daughter, Isabella, about 6 months ago when she got her own license. So you might hear some pages flipping and all that stuff. And I'm not very eloquent at my speech, but I'm going to do the best I can to make it sound good for you. And let's get right at it. Page 1, drive safely. It says, this contract is designed to be mutually agreed upon by all parties involved, parents and the new driver. By signing this agreement, both parties agree to obey all the rules and conditions stated in this contract. And sure enough, down below it a little bit more, it says, we understand bad things happen. Mistakes are made and things spoken are sometimes misunderstood. Ain't that the truth? But by signing this contract and agreeing to the rules, we agree that we will obey the rules and will stand by the consequences should any rules be broken. In addition, this is an evolving contract and can be reviewed and renegotiated at any time. And sure enough, there's space for me and Brenda Da Babe, my lovely wife, and Isabella, the new driver. Then down below that, parents pledge. I promise to help my new driver learn how to drive by using love, patience, and support. I understand and accept that this is a learning process and promise to do everything in my power to be a good role model and an understanding instructor. The reason I'm laughing is because I'm picturing a lot of the parents we work with who call me up and go, CJ, Spanky, Chris, I can't do this. My teen's driving me crazy and we're butting heads. And, it's just really funny. So anyways, I call myself a driving coach, not a driving instructor. I like the picture of coming alongside the teen and coaching them and being their fan as well in building them up. So anyways, the paragraph continues. It also says, I also pledge that I will be encouraging rather than critical, that I will demonstrate patiently rather than complain. I will be patient and allow my new teen driver to progress at his or her own speed and will not try to rush or hurry the process. I recognize that learning to drive is a mental as well as a physical skill that needs to be nurtured and practiced in a loving and supportive manner. And then there's room for the parent or parents' signatures. Then down below that, at the bottom of page 1, new teen drivers pledge. I understand that permission to drive is a privilege given to me by my parents. And as a privilege, it is their right to take that privilege away at any time they think is necessary. I will abide by the rules and regulations established by my parents. And if I break a rule, I will willingly face the consequences we have agreed upon. And sure enough, the teen has a space for them to sign right there. And that's what Isabella did. Okay, page 2, top of page 2. First things first, what are we agreeing to? Here we go. Bullet point number 1, forgetting. Forgetting any part of the contract is not an excuse. Then there are lines for all of our initials. Bullet point number 2, I will obey all laws regulating driving. I will observe and abide by posted speed limits. I will obey all rules established by my parents, and I recognize this is for my own protection and the protection of others, and all of our initials. Next bullet point. I understand that the car I drive is the property of my parents. Even a car that is a gift to me by my parents is still legally the property of my parents. As such, I will drive the car only with my parents' permission. Initials. Next bullet point. I understand that this written agreement is necessary. I understand that the terms of this agreement may be changed based on how I handle the freedom and responsibility of driving. I understand that if my parents judge that I'm not doing well, that they can revise the rules and make them stricter, and if I'm doing well, they can relax the rules too. Initials. Next bullet point. If, for any reason whatsoever, the rules are broken, then the car keys will be forfeited to my parents with no argument or debate. Try and get that to happen that smoothly from your teen. It could happen. There are lovely teens out there who will just do that. Let's see. Here we go. Place for the initials. Next bullet point. If a rule is broken, then the new driver asks for a review. A meeting will take place no earlier than 24 hours after the request. Do you notice how it said no earlier? I have a feeling what they mean when they put this in here is that you need to give all the parties a chance to just decompress. And the 24-hour rule, I think, is really good. Everybody can just chill out. Because what it says is that if I break a rule as a teen, I'm allowed to ask my parents for a review, and the meeting will take place no earlier than 24 hours. Just give everybody a chance to marinate on the situation. Maybe the teen will understand after 24 hours, yeah, I did break some rules. And the parents gives them a chance to just kind of chillax too. Place for the initials. Next bullet point. Refusal to immediately surrender the car keys will result in the car being taken away. No exceptions in capital letters. A place for the initials. Next bullet point. If my parents take away my driving privileges, I will not drive for 2 to 4 weeks depending on my parents' choice. Okay, there will not be any discussion. Okay, about driving again. I'm just looking through here. Another incident of failure to surrender the keys on demand will lead to indefinite suspension of driving privileges. And if I drive in defiance of my parents' order not to drive, then my parents may call the police. I love it, man. These guys are tough. However, my daughter's already read all this stuff and initialed, and we initialed. So this is really good stuff. Initials, next bullet point at the bottom of page 2. If the new driver drives any car without or in defiance of the parent's order, this contract will be canceled and no driving will be permitted for at least 1 year. Wow. Initials, and there's the end of page 2. Love it. What do you guys think of that so far? A couple of those are pretty toughies, but you know what? My wife and I agree upon it with Isabella as well. And so, yeah, there you go. Let's move on. Top of page 3, bullet point. If the new driver is involved in a car crash, no matter how minor, the new driver will not leave the scene of the crash without the permission of police officers and or the parents. And sure enough, initials. Okay, the fundamental rules. The following rules will result in a suspension of all driving privileges for an agreed upon time as stated in this contract. Bullet point. Permission to drive. The new driver must ask for permission to drive each time he or she wants to drive. The only exceptions to the rule are for normal trips back and forth to school, work, and weekly or daily meetings already agreed upon. Trips other than the agreed upon locations will be discussed prior to leaving with the locations and route agreed upon. The new driver will make sure he or she contacts the parents and lets them know where he or she is. The new driver will not make any unscheduled stops or side trips without first discussing it with the parents. Break of this rule results in blank space for the parents to fill in how many days or months that those driving privileges will be taken away. Okay, bullet point. Breaking curfew. The new driver may not drive after, and then you could fill in whatever time at night. The new driver must be home at or before that agreed upon time. Breaking of this rule results in how many days or months you take away their driving privileges. Okay, bullet point. Limit of passengers. I will not be allowed to have any passengers without specific permission. Exceptions include, let's be honest, stepbrothers, full brothers, stepsisters, full sisters, foster siblings, adopted siblings, halves, stuff like that. Most states allow you to have those siblings in the car with them. In the state of Tennessee, you're only allowed to have one non-family member in your car the first year of driving. So you guys are going to have to figure all that out. Our rule with our daughter Isabella, she's not allowed to have anyone in her car her first year driving. So we actually stretched that out. No friends at all. So it's just her two sisters. Okay, bullet point. Areas that are off limits. I will not drive in any areas that are designated as off limits, and I understand these areas will be expanded once I gain more driving experience and show that I'm honoring this contract. For the time being, the following roads and areas are to be avoided. And we have that with our daughter as well. There's just certain roads we don't want her on. Okay, this portion of the contract will be reviewed in so many days, weeks, or months. And at that time, new areas may or may not be included as safe driving areas. Good. Top of page 4, bullet point. No one else will drive our car. The new driver will not allow anyone to drive the car without the parent's specific permission for each specific case. Breaking of this rule results in so many days, months of the driving privileges. And on this page, actually, just like page 3, there's no more initialing, but no, there's going to be more signatures coming up, I believe. Okay, next bullet point. Car, radio, CD player, MP3 players, phones. I understand how distracting music can be in driving and agree that for the first month, I will not have any music system playing in the car as I drive. After the first 2 months, and with the permission of my parents, I can use the radio, but will not make any adjustments other than changing the volume while driving. Under no circumstances will I change a CD or cassette, oh my gosh, while driving, and agree that I will only change these when I'm stopped or have pulled over. Breaking of this rule will result in how many days, weeks, or months of my driving privileges being taken away. And yes, we have the 99 Tahoe. And sure enough, there is a CD and a cassette player in there, believe it or not. It's my restoration baby. And Isabella's been driving it. She actually loves it. We put in a lot of money in the past year to get a lot of things restored on it because it's kind of my baby. And I've driven 45,000 miles on it in 10 years. Do the math on that. That's less than 4,500 miles a year, about there. So we put a new paint job on it. Looks great. Power steering, gear shift, air conditioner, heater. We fixed all this stuff. It looks really great. But there is a cassette and a CD player in there, which is pretty funny. Okay, let's see what else on there. Oh, let me tell you one thing about that. I actually tested our daughter once. I had my radio station on there that I really like, and 4 days later, that radio station was still played when I turned the keys on that Tahoe. So she hadn't adjusted that radio station in 4 days. For the most part, she just gets in the car and drives her sisters to school and comes home. So I think I'm very fortunate with this daughter. Okay, so let's see where we at now. Bullet point, texting, cell phones, GPS system. Oh, that's a good one. Under no circumstances will I use a cell phone, text message, adjust any MP3 players or any other electronic devices while driving. I will pull over for other operations of cell phones and electronic equipment like a GPS. Breaking of this rule results in blank days, weeks, months of my driving privileges. Okay, so Our rule is that she's not allowed to use any of those. Her sister, who's 15, sits in the seat next to her and helps navigate her with the GPS. So that really helps. What we also do is we map out her route. If she's going to a friend's house or she has to go to the coach's house for volleyball, we just look online and we say, hey, it looks like you're going to make a left out of here. You're going to go down there. And she's learning the area much more than she used to. So what we also did, which you parents might want to do, is have your teenagers put down the phone when you're driving them around town. That way they know the name of the streets. They're learning them as they go. And they're watching you drive as well. And you can explain to them other routes to get to their friend's house. There might be 2 or 3 different routes depending upon traffic, crashes, bad weather with ponding, puddling of roads and stuff like that. In that case, really don't even let your teens go out and drive. But a lot of parents will let their teens drive in poor weather. We don't, though. Okay, so here we go. Weather, road conditions. Next bullet point. I will respect all weather and road conditions, slowing down as needed for safety, and will contact my parents to discuss weather or poor road conditions when I am out driving. Breaking of this rule results in blank days, weeks, months of my driving privileges. So that's just what I was talking about. So listen, if it's really poor weather, don't allow your teen to go out. It's just that plain and simple. It could be Thanksgiving winter break where the weather's getting, worse and they're getting cabin fever, hanging out. They're like, oh, I really want to go over to so-and-so's house, and it might be a 20-minute drive, but it's pouring out, or it's a little bit slushy or something like that. You'd much rather be safe than sorry. Okay, next bullet point, emotions. I will not drive when I am upset or angry, as I know this affects my judgment and driving skills. If I'm upset for any reason, I will contact my parents for transportation. My parents will also agree that I have the right to maintain my privacy and may choose not to discuss the matter. My parents agree not to ask a lot of unnecessary questions. What? Are you kidding? I'm like fidgeting around in my chair now, getting me all upset. Actually, we agreed to that. Sometimes you just need to give your teens just a chillax time, just to chill out, have them get from, school or work to home, let them go upstairs, decompress, and when the time comes, chat with your teenager. You guys know what you're doing. I don't have to tell you how to parent, Anyways, but sometimes we want to hammer down, go, what's wrong? What's wrong? No, please tell me what's wrong, and sometimes you just need to give them a little bit of space. I am learning this. I have 3 daughters. Okay, here we go. Next bullet point, taking care of the vehicle. It is my responsibility to protect the car I drive. I will keep it reasonably clean. Reasonably? What? I will keep it reasonably clean and maintained. Breaking of this rule results in how many blank days, weeks, or months of my driving privileges. I am very proud to say, a few days ago over the weekend, I simply said to my daughters, hey, I have to go to work now, but could you guys please make sure that you guys clean out the Tahoe, make it look pretty, and take it up for a wash? And sure enough, when I came back home, man, it was cleaned out, vacuumed, Windexed. They took it up to the car wash, and it looked great. Especially since we just got that new paint job on it a few months ago. Paint job looks totally awesome, man. So cool. Okay, next bullet point. Passenger behavior. I will not allow my passengers to behave in such a way as to distract me while driving. Breaking of this rule results in how many days, weeks, months. You just fill that in, and there you have it. That's page 4. We are halfway done. Okay, top of page 5, seatbelts. I will wear my seatbelt at all times properly and insist that all my passengers wear theirs as well. This is such a no-brainer. Any parent that doesn't make their teenager wear a seatbelt properly is a bonehead. So you parents out there, don't be boneheads. Don't allow your teenagers to put the seatbelt on, and then the shoulder strap, put it underneath their armpit. That's not full-on protection. They're going to fly forward into that steering wheel, and that airbag comes out at 200 miles per hour. It's true, twice the speed of a Major League Baseball fastball. So their hands should be on the steering wheel at 9 and 3, like a clock face. 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock, they should be 10 to 12 inches from the steering wheel and wearing their seatbelt properly. That way, if they get into a car crash, they're not going to fly in towards the steering wheel and that airbag coming out and spanking them right in the face and knocking out all their pretty little teeth that you paid thousands of dollars for in orthodonture work. Dentistry. Yeah. Crazy. Seatbelts. Make sure they wear their seatbelts. Great. Next bullet point. Friends ride only with their parents' permission. Well, I already told you what that is. If a situation arises that my parents have agreed to me having a friend ride with me, which, well, for our daughter won't happen for a year after she gets her license, I will make sure that my friend's parents have given their permission to ride with me. That's a real biggie, because your daughter or son, their friends might be sneaky to their own parents. So you just want to know that all the parents are involved. Everybody's on the same wavelength here as far as communication. Breaking of this rule results in blank days, weeks, or months of my driving privileges. Good. Next bullet point. Thank you for not smoking. I will not smoke or vape in the car. Breaking of this rule results in how many days, weeks, months of my driving privileges. Yeah, no smoking doobage either. Dude, yeah, man. Pass me that, bro. You got any Doritos, bro? I got the munchies, man. We go over all this with our teenagers. I have 2 teens and then I have a little 11-year-old. She'll be 12 soon. And we go over all this very thoroughly. Thank goodness they never tried cigarettes, weed, vaping, nothing like that. As far as I know, you never know, right? You never know. Your kids might, I hate calling them kids. They're teenagers. Well, even the ones who aren't teens, the preteens, right? They might come off as just the sweetest. Oh, I have a 4.0 GPA. I'm in great communication with my parents. I never do anything wrong. And you have no idea what they're doing behind your back. And in all honesty, mom and dad, or legal guardian out there, I've seen it all. I have pulled thousands of teenagers over the years. And it is amazing how high the percentage is of teenagers who do sneaky things behind their back and admit that their parents' jaws would drop and some of their parents would break down and cry if they knew the secrets they were holding back from their parents. Now have I got your attention? Hey, listen, I'm in the same boat as you guys, right? Same boat. Okay. Next bullet point. No eating and driving. I will not eat while driving. Breaking of this rule results in blank days, weeks, or months of my driving privileges. You get that, right? They're going to want to run through fast food place, stick the drink in the cup holder and the fries right there on the center console with the burger in one hand. Yeah, negatory. That is not good. It's totally distracting. They're giving up their defensive driving gift, which is the only gift they have to give themselves, their defensive driving. And when they're distracted by their food, that's like rolling down the window and throwing their free gift of defensive driving ability out the window. So, no eating while driving. Next bullet point, no rushing or hurrying. I am aware that a majority of crashes occur when a driver is rushing or in a hurry to get places. Therefore, my parents reserve the right to not allow me to drive if I'm running late. For example, if my parents tell me that I must allow 20 minutes to get to somewhere, I will leave before and not later than 20 minutes. If I cannot leave within their time frame, my parents will attempt to provide alternate rides. Breaking of this rule results in how many days, weeks, or months my parents fill in of my driving privileges being taken away. And that's huge, because a lot of teenagers, they want to rush out with their backpack, their lunch, and their shoes and socks in their hand and get out there to the car. And that is no bueno. That is so not good. So next bullet point, attention to driving. I will not do things while driving that distract me from the road. No applying makeup, getting things in and out of a purse or backpack, etc. And by the way, we make our daughter put her phone on silent and throw it in the back seat so it's out of reach. Breaking of this rule results in blank days, weeks, or months of my driving privileges. You really have to watch your teens on that. You know, I would circle that whole thing, the whole attention to driving. Anything that takes your mind or eyes off the road is distracted driving. God forbid they're bringing their cereal in the car when you're not looking. I've seen that. I've seen teenagers drive with a bowl of cereal in the car, or they're looking at their notes for their first period quiz that they have going. You know what I'm talking about. Be very vigilant about that. Okay, next page, top of page 6. Punishment for the following infractions will be determined independent of this contract. And you know what? That's all capitalized in big black bold lettering. Yikes. Bullet point, tickets and moving violations. Any tickets or moving violations will result in the suspension of my driving privileges for a period to be determined by my parents. My parents have no obligation to pay my fines for driving related tickets, traffic court, traffic school, etc. I like that. Okay, next bullet point. In the car supervision. My parents have the right to insist on additional in-the-car supervision while I am driving. This can be in response to some sort of incident that I might have been involved in, or just to check on the development of my driving skills. And I've actually done that. I've hopped in the car with Isabella in the Tahoe, and I've said, okay, here, you drive. And we've gone out to, yogurt or whatever, just so I can just fine-tune anything that I see she might need work on. And in most cases, actually, parents, a lot of the cases, it's their eye movement. So be looking over at your teenager to see if their eyes are scanning left to right, up at the rear view mirror every 5 seconds, and down at the speedometer to make it their best friend so that they always stay at the speed limit or a tiny bit under. That's some good words of advice for you guys. Okay, next bullet point, financial responsibility. I agree to the financial contributions regarding driving in the car as explained below. Okay, for us, in October, in a couple months, when volleyball is done, she is going to be responsible for paying for her own gas and insurance. The cool thing is the insurance for her on that Tahoe, or just to drive our vehicle, we're only paying like $74 or $78 a month. Isn't that great? She did not get a driver's ed discount from our insurance company, but she did get a good grades discount. So that's cool. But she's going to need to get a job, and she will be 16 and a half. And it's good for her to get a job because we are teaching her about managing her time and managing her money. Before you know it, she's going to be 18, 19, 20. You parents know how it is. You probably have teenagers older than mine, so you were there before me. And we spend, it seems to fly by, but 18 years we're spending saying that long goodbye. And so we have to be the most purposeful parents. I have to be a deliberate dad and look for all of these teaching moments to equip my daughters as best I can before they leave the mother nest. And 2 big ways are teaching them to manage their time and manage their money. And that's what we're trying to do. Before we know it, she's going to be out of the house. She's going to have roommates. And, by the way, I know I'm going to digress here. I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent. But part of her getting the job also is we want her to teach about saving, spending, and investing wisely. And so we are setting her up with her Roth IRA when she gets her job, because we want her to start immediately contributing to her retirement account. Why not do that at 16 and a half, 17, rather than her putting it off, I guess, until she's 23, 24, 25. And also, we're going to have her start saving. We already are. Start having her save towards her first piece of property. And hopefully, maybe she'll have 10 grand saved by the time she's 22. She can put that down on a down payment for a small condo or, a townhouse, and maybe a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, and rent one of the bedrooms out to her best friend, rather than her having an apartment and paying rent at 22. Either way, she's going to have a payment. But why not have it in the form of a mortgage payment? So those are things we're working towards. Not everything is set in stone and perfect because, life gets in the way. But anyways, I digress. Let's move on. Next bullet point, family obligations. I agree to provide driving to any family member that might be needed at my parents' request. Fulfilling these obligations is a condition of my using the Tahoe. Sometimes these responsibilities will override my own desires and interests in using the vehicle. Good. Next bullet point, general life responsibilities. I agree that I must be responsible to drive safely and that my parents must believe that I am relatively responsible in order to allow me to drive. They may, therefore, take into account how I handle my general responsibilities, including schoolwork, employment, household duties. I will also maintain a respectful attitude. I like that. I will not ask my parents to allow me to drive when I am being rude and disrespectful to them or to others. Hot diggity dog. I'm sure some of you parents are going to like that one. Yes. Okay. Top of page 7. Next bullet point, right to clear expectations. My parents have a right to expect me to be responsible. I have a right to be told what this means. And for this reason, I may ask my parents for clarification of their requirement that I, quote, be responsible. I'll let you guys replay that a million times so you guys can get that. Next bullet point, changes in this agreement. I understand that this contract can be made more strict at any time my parents believe that it is the best thing to do. I understand that if I consistently, let me repeat that. I understand that if I consistently follow and obey these rules, that my parents will work with me to make the contract less strict as I gain experience. However, I understand that it is my parents' choice and their responsibility to change or not change the contract. Boy, man, this is a beast of a parent-teen contract, isn't it? Okay, down below a little bit more, middle of page 7. The following violations will result in a complete loss of all driving rules. Here it comes. Okay, I understand that I will lose all my driving privileges if any one of these is violated even once. And I got to tell you, I don't hope that my teenagers break these rules. I hope that they're leaders, professional teens, and they're responsible. Here we go. Bullet point, no alcohol use or abuse. While I hold the keys to the car, whether I'm driving or not, I will never, ever drink any alcohol. Bullet point, no drug use. I will not drive for 72 hours after using any substance, including medicines that may impair my driving ability. If I need to drive prior to the 72 hours, I will inform my parents of any medications I've taken and let them make the decision whether I'm capable of driving or not. Obviously, this is just straight up communication between you and your teen, you guys. You need to be aware of whatever your teens are putting in their system. It's just flat out you being a responsible parent. So parent up. Next bullet point, no riding with others who have used alcohol or drugs. I will not ride as a passenger with any driver who has used alcohol or any substance that impairs their driving ability. I will not ride with anyone I think may have used alcohol or drugs. Okay, let me break this down for you with our daughter. It's totally up to you. You're the parent, obviously, of your teen. Here's what we've decided to do. Our daughters are not allowed to drive with any other teenagers. That's just it. Okay. Isabella, She has the Tahoe to use. She's going to be the leader of her own life. So if a friend of hers wants to say, hey, let me stop by your house, I'll swing by, pick you up, and let's go over to Sonic for a bite to eat. No, Isabella will take the Tahoe over to Sonic and meet her there. And then once she's 17 and she's had a year under her belt, which will probably be a little bit after 17 because she got her license a month or two after she turned 16, then we'll probably allow her swing by her friend's house, pick her up, and her be the driver. That way, my daughter is always in control of her own life as much as possible. Hope you guys understand where I was going with that. Let's see. Next bullet point. Alternatives to riding with others who have used alcohol or drugs. If I find myself in a situation where I may be riding with someone who is under medication or has used alcohol, I will contact my parents or another designated adult to arrange for a ride. I understand that my parents will make every effort to avoid asking me a lot of questions about it, and I will not be punished for my friend's behavior. Okay, we've tweaked this a little bit. We do reserve the right to ask questions. Absolutely, it's called parenting. But also, remember we mentioned maybe that 24-hour cooling off period a little bit. But you got to be in communication with your teenager, and gosh, I'll let you, back up and, decipher this chunk that I just read. But our daughters really do know the dangers of drinking alcohol, whether you're driving or not. Alcohol poisoning, passing out. I mean, I can get into all that. That's another podcast episode that I do plan on doing. Okay, so let me move on. Next bullet point. No thrill-seeking / stunts. I will not engage in any thrill-seeking behavior while driving. I will not drive for recreation. I will not drive too fast, participate in racing of any kinds, or any kind of stunt that involves a car. Driving is for transportation only. Yes, we've talked about that with our teens very thoroughly. They've seen all the videos. They've even read stories online about teenagers doing boneheaded things and dying or being severely injured. And our daughters know this. We just pray that they don't check their brains and get caught up in the situations with their friends and do something stupid. I mean, that's all of our prayers as parents, right? Okay, last bullet point, bottom of page 7. No driving with passengers who are not wearing seatbelts. This includes driving for any distance. Okay, flat out. My daughters know they're the captain of their ship. When our middle and youngest daughters get their license, it's going to be the same thing. Anyone you drive, you look at them, you say, buckle up, buddy boy. You look in the back, tell everybody, seatbelt check, and you do not leave that driveway or parking spot until everyone is buckled up. That's just the way it should be. That's the way it is with our family. Okay, top of page 8, bullet point, informing parents about crashes and police encounters. I will inform my parents about any and all tickets, crashes, and encounters with police, including warnings. Now, I love this one because a lot of teenagers will most likely leave things out because their thought process is, I don't need to let my parents know about that part of the evening. And that might include getting pulled over by the police. And the police approaches the vehicle, license, registration, proof of insurance, and talks to your teenager and says, do you know that you were going over the speed limit a little bit? And the teenager begs, please, officer, please don't. My curfew's in 20 minutes. I got to get home. I'm going to be late as well. And the officer decides that, she's going to show the teenager some grace. So she says, okay, slow down a little bit. And I got my eye on you. And the teenager comes home and does not share that part of their evening. And it happens. So here it is in writing. Have your teen initial it, sign it, bada bing, bada bing. Okay, next bullet point. No firearms or other weapons. I will not drive with any gun or other deadly weapons in the vehicle. What do I say to that? There it is. Right out front, up front, there it is. Okay, summary and review dates. Bullet point summary. I agree to follow and obey the rules in this contract and will accept the consequences and penalties if I do not. I recognize my parents' authority in deciding if I may or may not drive, and that the final authority is my parents. Bullet point. Reviewing this agreement. Both parents and new teen driver agree that this agreement will be reviewed and perhaps changed on, and there's a blank space and you can put in whatever date to go back and review it, or earlier if my parents or I wish to do so. And then there's the signatures and the dates of both the parents, legal guardians, teen, and bada bang, bada bang. There it is. So this is a great parent-teen contract. I think every single parent needs to print one of these out. There are a ton of them online. I gave you the link, idrivesafely.com, to the one that we used. And some of them are in tweakable form. So if you want, you can custom make them to however you want the wording to be. This is important because it gives you clear communication up front, the expectations that you have for your teen driver. And parents, you'd rather be safe than sorry, right? You don't want to have any regrets. You don't want to leave a gray area for your teenager to say, well, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't think you meant it that way. Or, well, you didn't really say that, did you? And you can always whip out the copy of the parent-teen contract, staple all pages together, put it in a file, stick it in the drawer so where it can always be, looked at again, and don't lose it. Or else all of a sudden there's a gray area and everybody thinks that it said one thing where it said another. You guys get it, right? We do these contracts because we love our teenagers. We spend that time raising them up, investing in them, getting them to the start line. Because once they go through driver's ed, their permit and their driving test and they get a license, like I said before, it's not done. They're just now starting their driving life. And they're going to probably be driving for the next 60 years or so. So to have this great foundation and communication up front, that is the best way to go. That's the safest way to go. And you'll look back without any regrets. Sound good, you guys? It's all about purposeful parenting. I thank you guys for listening today, putting in this time as I go methodically through this parent-teen agreement. And that's about it for now. If you want, you could find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and our website is Spanky'sDrivingAcademy.com. Thanks so much. Rock on and rock steady.